when people use AI and see, I would call it the beauty of AI. What can we do with AI? What is the beauty of AI? What does it mean for us? So you take away the fear when they see they can reduce the time and administration substantially. They can focus more like relationship managers in banks on quality time with their client. But what is important is then, how do I deal with my client? I'm the one who knows my client best. I can see my client. I have a holistic view of my client. I can feel my client.
Our relationship with technology is evolving rapidly. As AI is changing businesses and reshape our world, what does the future hold?
Welcome everyone to another episode of AI Business Transformation. I'm Michael Coppola, and today I'm really excited to be here with Marta Berkenfield, founder and one of the top voices in technology and AI. Hi, Marta.
Hi, Michael. I'm also super excited being here with you today and talking about the big business transformation we have ahead of us.
Yeah, thanks, Marta. In fact, this is what we doing with this series, is really exploring how AI and technology is reshaping both businesses and society. And I'm really excited to dive into your view and what you see ahead happening right now, and what do you see as the evolution of how businesses are operating, and they will operate, because I think is a great opportunity to talk about so we can prepare for what's coming. Marta, do you want to give us an introduction about yourself? You have been from C-suite at AXA and UBS, going all the way through being one of the top voices in technology. Can you tell us more about your journey?
Yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity. So I've been over 20 years in financial services and in companies that you mentioned, and AXA and UBS, and I've been always very fortunate to be on the top to drive strategic decisions, but also implementation. And what always has been fascinating me is technology and what we can do with it. So I've been in private banking as a CEO in London. I teamed up with Deloitte at the time, and we started to look at technology quite early, because at that time we saw the first signs of robo-advisors and how you can deliver to clients. So being a private wealth manager is one thing, but we also had a part of the portfolio which was retail related and was very important. How can we also serve retail clients where you don't or cannot afford to have the relationship management? And I had a really great experience with Deloitte, with the Deloitte lab, because we went there, it was over 10 years ago. We went to their lab with my management team, and we saw first time virtual reality, we saw 3D printers, and we all like, wow. So for me, it's always important also not only to look at what is changing for your clients directly, but also what is changing in society and what can be used. And one of my management team said, oh, you are so far behind, with this 3D stuff. Already my son has it for gaming. So we also see that the different generations deal with technology quite differently. So what we might consider as wow effect, our children, our nieces and nephews have already done many, many times. And we have to think about it as a society, as leaders. How can we bridge these different gaps, and how can we make sure that people get into this journey and that we take everyone with us? Same more or less happened at UBS, where I was also fortunate to implement two different platforms on a very, very advanced level. And there we also had exposure to blockchain for sure. We had a huge AI team, over 700 people, nearly 1,000 people, only dealing with AI and understanding how do we drive client decisions better? How do we enable them to get better information? That was one of the platforms I was building, because a lot of the clients get huge reports, but they don't digest them, they don't read them, or they get a lot of material from the investment team. And how do we make it so they don't look at Reddit and Twitter, which is not always vetted and correct, but they look at proper banking, proper research, and you can do things much, much different when you use AI, and you can make them far more personalized, but always seeing that in the bigger context of what is happening in society. And that was really the trigger for me to say, yeah, I want to go to the next level and also explore and accelerate, not only for banking. So I'm now also working with healthcare institution, with startups and fintech. So a wide variety where I have a huge playground, you can say, to see so many different advancements I would not see if I'm solely confined to one specific segment. And that's what I find personally very exciting and also extremely rewarding.
Yeah, that's an incredible journey and exciting to see. In this period, can you tell us as well about how have you seen technology changing how business is operating? I think you have been working for this company some times ago. And what do you think are the major shift that they are happening at the moment inside of companies?
The big shift I see is not so much, or obviously it's on the technology side and everyone is talking about it, but it's not so much how or why do we implement AI? We can implement it from front to back office, but how do we trigger this cultural change? So you talk a lot about business transformation in your talks, and this is exactly that. So, like today, also still on the big companies, you have a lot of people who sit on their data, who are in their silo, and knowledge is still to a certain extent the power they have. But when we use AI, we need to break up this data pools and need to combine it. And to do that, you need to have the people understanding what does it mean for them, and how does it relate to them? Is it that just AI is replacing them? So you have a lot of fear, and this culture change is the biggest hurdle I see in most of the companies. There's also a recent IBM report which confirms what I'm seeing and what is my experience in the past and still today, that people are the top number one driver of change. It sounds logical, but when we look at technology, we all think, oh, we have to have the latest technology and we have to have all must be agents. But also there is another, coincidentally, IBM reported a couple of days ago that you should really think first, for what do you need the agent? So it needs to be part of your overall strategy. The why is the most important. And then the how you do it, and always do it with people in mind.
And what do you think from a people perspective need to change? Because it's interesting to as you said, we build all this technology around, we adopt all the latest technology, but what should change from the people perspective?
The what we shouldn't do is easier to say, or what we should do is when people use AI and see, I would call it the beauty of AI. So a lot of companies also starting now with me to do the workshop and show them, what can we do with AI? What is the beauty of AI? And what does it mean for us, for me as an employee? So you take away the fear when they see they can reduce the time and administration substantially. They can focus more, like relationship managers in banks, on quality time with their client. They don't have to research everything themselves. They get it all nicely prepared from an agent. But what is important is then, how do I deal with my client? I'm the one who knows my client best. I can see my client. I have a holistic view of my client. I can feel my client. That's very important. And this is what we have to make people understand it's not a replacement, but it's an augmentation. Having said that, we also have to acknowledge that there are millions of jobs which are no longer existent. So if you look at junior analysts, at junior researchers, we don't need them anymore. In consultancy, that has been a big, I would say, eye-opener for a lot of junior graduates who still had the opportunity to work with McKinsey or BCG, and now that opportunity is gone. But there are a lot of other opportunities we have to become aware of, which are super important and which make AI work for us. And the second part I see, which is also quite interesting, when people get more time, then we have to make sure the time they have, the new time they have, it's used in valuable ways. And that doesn't mean that if I get 2 hours a day more time, that I just push all the other work to that employee. I think it's important to acknowledge what is the work which is really valuable, where I need a human, and what is the work where I can use AI or an AI agent. And this distinction will make it also very clear for every employee. Wow, I can really do what I'm passionate about. And what people are passionate about is other people, the connection, the community. And this is, in my view, what we should foster and what we should promote.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think I have also been building AI agent for companies. We also embracing this new shift of automation, and then you understand what are the most valuable things you can focus on when you are starting to automate it, a lot of processes, and the most natural way is to focus what most matter, this connection, as you said, community building, relationship. And I think, yeah, we have this opportunity now. So I think it's thinking in way, and also we are also doing as well. I think also AI business transformation series is also a consequence of that. It give us the ability and the time as well to spend more time with people and connecting with them. So
Maybe
completely understand your point.
also it means not only spending more time with your colleagues and your clients, but spending more time with family and friends, because this is part of the life and this is part of what you offer your employees. So the younger generation is already no longer prepared to work 40, 60 hours a day, a week. So it's not because they can't, but because they don't want to. They have seen their parents, they're working so hard, they had no time for the family quite often. And it's so important to give that time, this valuable time for individuals also back to them, because if you have this positive experiences, if you are a happy person, you are much, much better at work and at home.
And Marta, you have been speaking about tech with purpose. Could you explain what that looks like?
Yeah, when we look at the different technological development, we always have to ask ourselves, what is a true purpose? Is that something bigger in terms of what can we achieve for humanity? And I have an amazing example which just happened, you can say almost to me a week ago. I posted 1 month ago something about our prosthetic vest you can wear when you had a stroke and you can't move on the top or any other condition. And then one of the LinkedIn followers wrote to me, "Oh, this is really, really important for me. Do you know the people who have invented it, and can I contact them?" I had no direct contact with them before, but I knew who had developed them because I always do the research. And I wrote to her, "Yes, please contact. My strong recommendation is this Harvard researchers." And then a week ago, all of a sudden, out of the blue, she posted a video where she showed how she was wearing this vest, and she had an accident with her motorcycle, and she was absolutely happy because she could move again, and she had all of a sudden what was maybe considered a disability before completely changed her world. And that is an obvious example, how can we use technology to have a real true purpose, to change people's life, and to create also what I would call abundance for all. And abundance not in the sense of I'm the wealthiest person, but I have access to everything. I can do what I want. And we have so many tools now with robotics also helping in elderly care. We have just a couple of days, we had a big breakthrough in genetic editing. A little baby who couldn't eat certain food get genetic editing, and all of a sudden that changed, and this baby has a whole life. So things are changing very fast, and this is what we need to look for when we use technology. How can we make our life better? How can we get more people having this beautiful access we take for granted? In particular, in Switzerland, we have a high innovation. Everything is super clean. We have one of the cleanest water here, which we don't have in other countries. And technology can also help us not only to clean up the waters like Ocean Care does, but also to develop plastic in different ways. So there is now a French, for example, French researcher team. They develop biodegradable plastic in quotes because it's no longer plastic and has the same abilities. I recently saw also bamboo in China is now being used for even cars, instead of plastic. So this is really using technology with purpose. So let's think about what we can develop with this kind of purpose in mind, creating abundance for all.
Yes, happened also to me before to explore technology from the technology side, and sometimes can be so thinking about the solution sometimes is not the best way of thinking it. Instead of taking more of a problem approach, so being more in love with the problem, and then we apply technology to solve the problem. I think is the most effective way to bring purpose, tech with purpose. So is completely agree with that. And you also been training and speaking to many executive through your career. What is one of the mindset that leaders are struggling to embrace, change and new technology?
With all this new technology and everyone becoming an AI expert, but no one is really an AI expert, I believe, because everything is changing so fast. There's a lot of fear in leaders. You shouldn't imagine, because as a C-level executives, you are used to quite a lot, but you're not used to this speed of change. We have seen a lot of change in the past, but everyone agrees, including Jensen Huang from NVIDIA, it's accelerating and is exponential, and our brain doesn't understand exponential. So we need to have far more leaders who work with foresight techniques, which means you are not only looking at your strategy in the next 5 years, but you're looking at your whole business model in the next 30 to 40 to 50 years. So I've been working beginning of the year during the World Economic Forum in Davos with a group of people. And the interesting part is there were artists, there were visionaries, futurists, there were bankers, all kind of different people together who were looking for what we see in 2030, 2040, 2050. And you are amazed what comes up, and you are amazed how people, when you all come together and get your thinking together and practice foresight, what is coming out, and then you work basically backwards and say, okay, if we want to have food for everyone, if we want to have wealth for everyone, which doesn't mean only money but access, what do we have to do now to reach this point? And that's quite different from how leaders and the mindset leaders think today. They think, oh my God, I have to survive for the next 3 to 5 years. But if they have this narrow mindset, then I've seen those leaders will not survive because the business models are changing faster than the next 3 to 5 years. And you miss the point is more to think about, okay, what is the role of banks? What should banks really do? Are they still the middleman when a client now has an agent, and basically the agent looks for the best rates for your mortgage? It also helps you to find the house. So the whole journey you had previously with someone who looks for your house to help you, a broker, then you had a bank who gives you the mortgage, which is the most scary part for most of the clients. You didn't have this full ecosystems, or at least very limited. And now OpenAI or other AI offers you this, because on the platform I can search for the house. I can find the right rates for the bank. And in certain instances, like in e-commerce, they now already offer also transaction closing. So I can already, also my agent can pay. So all this journey is changing. So that means also the whole entire business model is at question. And that is not something I can cover with a strategy, which is just limited to 3 to 5 years. So that's one thing leaders really, really have to bear in mind. And then what the other part I look for when I also work with leaders is, what is their attitude and what are their skills? And their skills don't matter really in technology. They should understand technology, yes, but they don't have to be the best in using the AI tools. They have to be the best in leading people, which means empathy, kindness, creative and critical thinking. These are really, really the attitudes we need. So someone who has a perfect AI skills doesn't mean that he will be the perfect leader.
And talking about this long-term view strategy that you have been thinking, how businesses they can uh, balance between short-term and long-term view, because you also have to balance that, right? You have to have a long-term view, but you cannot just go in too long, otherwise you risk to capture the immediate opportunity. So I think there is a tricky balance. How do you think leaders they can approach that?
Yeah, this is a certain technique you can apply. It's a foresight technique. So whilst you're looking at 10, 15, 20 years out, you still have the narrow milestones you achieve. And what you also have to bear in mind, you have to much more work in scenario simulations. So previously, we worked maybe with 3 strategic outlooks. Now it's far more complex. So you have to find a model, which nowadays, like Monte Carlo simulation, is very easy with AI, where you have this different scenario simulations, and you can set certain triggers. And when the market is changing, you can also put this into your model and say, okay, now this is changing. What does it mean? So you can add all these parameters in your strategy and in your foresight and feed this with data and your own experience and the experience of your management team, which gives you really the best quality of where you are going, how you should also maneuver when something tomorrow changes. Then you have to change as well. You have to change quickly, and you can't do it alone with just making quick decisions. You need models to support you. And that's where I also believe that AI can help us a lot.
And how accurate are these scenarios, generally speaking? So yeah, you saying um, in a certain scenario you can behave on this way. So you create different scenario for what can happen, best case scenario, worst case scenario, and then your strategy will change in base of that assumption of the future. Correct?
Yeah, and the challenge is, how do you change your organization, in particular in big and legacy organizations, to flow with these different scenarios? Because If I make a big change and shift today, I have to bring this tanker with me. So in the future and already now, what I see and what I work with them to make their organizational structure also far more fluid. So you don't, anyway, hierarchies are gone, but you don't have anymore this fixed organization. You're trying a little bit like ant colonies, all helping each other, but if things are changing, you can change them here and there. And I think that's the best way of doing it. Obviously, startups are much, much more agile than incumbents, also with a big legacy IT, but this is what they need to move to. So more or less, not only taking into account these big shifts, but making sure their organization is agile, their organization can do these big shifts and can flow with it, and you don't have a shock all the time to the organization, which also means from a cultural point of view that people need to be prepared that there are constant changes. And this is just a new normal, as we all know, but people need to basically live it and say, okay, this is changing, this is fine, because we have a good we have a good setup, we can deal with it. For me, that is not something I feel uncomfortable with. And that is what we have to give the people confidence and take away this fear when something changes. Oh, my job is gone. But the more you can help them to go with the change, to go with the flow, the more you can also cut through this fear.
And what are some practical steps for organization to adopt this agile organization? Because I think, in this really fast-paced environment, agility is one of the most important factor for success, right? So what can we do as leaders and business operator to and government as well? Because I think as a society, I think government as well, they should adopt a faster organizational framework to adapt on this really fast changing world. So do you have some advice on this agile
Setup, basically.
framework?
Framework, yes. I mean, the Agile framework is, in effect, is not something new. We also implemented this at UBS. We were, in my department, one of the first, because when you work in innovation, you need to be agile because you need to always test and explore. And the other part is you need to be able to fail. And this is what we have seen in big companies, also like Apple. They were constant failures. There are still constant failures. In NVIDIA, not everything is always shiny. When DeepSeek comes and have something new, all of a sudden NVIDIA stock goes down because they are not as far. So you need to deal with those changes. And the best framework for that is that you have your organization set up in more little nucleus parts which are connected with each other, but you also try to disconnect them from high dependency. So if something happens to one part which gets completely replaced, the rest is still intact. And this is what we have to look at now. We have to change those models. And this is not about HR just changing. This is about changing the entire workflow and changing how everything is connected with each other and making sure that people understand there is no, as such, hierarchy. I'm the big boss and everyone is following me, because if something happens here, everything will fall apart. So you have to really build it, I would say, a bit like Lego, where you have the different pieces, you can build them again, new together. And we know we have done it as children when we were small. We have done Lego, we built something new, we were flexible. And this is the Lego principles applying to business principles.
Yeah,
Exactly.
great analogy. I like the Lego. Yeah. Thanks, Marta. I want to pass and talk about
One example, which is really fantastic also to your question. because we all love Lego. We also know, I mean, a lot of us also know Minecraft and love it. So now what researchers have done, or like a whole company has done, specialized, they have used AI agents in Minecraft. I don't know if you have seen that. And they built a whole society. And they said, okay, you are this person and you are this person, you are this country and so on. And you could see all the society simulation, what people do, in quotes people, it was all the AI agents in Minecraft. And this is what I mean with simulations. We will have much more of that, where we also understand how societies behave. Obviously, that also has a dark side because I understand much better how to manipulate. But to your point on governments, they need to see how society behave if X, Y, that happens. And this Minecraft really, really helps us. So this is a very recent example, and they have done a video of all of this with the different people and different actions which were happening. And you're like, oh my God, this is a whole artificial society with AI agents. Also tells you something about how AI agents behave.
Yeah, that's really exciting. So creating simulation scenario with agent to understand better outcomes and develop a society or organization. So yeah, that will help to us figure out the best path forward.
Yeah, the best part for our society, but maybe even more certainly for your business. If you mirror the society plus also what's the new bank role, you can have a bank agent, you can have a customer agent, and you can simulate, it's changing. Also, your relationship is changing because you have now agent to agent. You no longer have me personally maybe dealing with the client or only on certain circumstances.
But then the question arises, how a future where we can clearly predict is going to look like, because yeah, we have now with AI we have a much uh, yeah better understanding of predicting the future. But so then what is going to happen? Are we is going to keep being that way, or the rules are changing because we can find yeah, we can see better the future?
Yeah, we have, let's say, huge unanswered questions, and people like Bill Gates have already said, let's assume we have only 2 days a week we work because, the rest we can manage otherwise. So what happens? How do we are getting paid? How do we afford our life? And then the whole discussions about universal basic income come to mind, or also the discussion about universal basic assets. So how do I share? I buy a robot so I can share it with my entire family. How do we share all these benefits? What does ownership mean? What does the future of wealth mean? What does money mean? All these questions we have not answered. So what we were talking through in the first part is more or less, I would say, the next 3 to 5 years. But what we are talking now about is what happens in 5 years. It goes very fast. It's not when we talk about future, the future is already now.
Marta, now I wanna talk about the human-centered AI, and you have been peace ambassador advocating for human-centered AI. How do you define that?
And this is a very good question, also with not unchallenged, I would say. So human-centric for me is making sure that everything we do also has a purpose, like we mentioned at the beginning, but also that we emphasize our human values. And there the big debate begins because we should assume normally that human values, we all have human values. We all have humans first, always. But there are already debates about, what means human values? Are we all the same, etc.? So human-centric really means that you put the human in the middle of everything. And also when we use AI, AI is geared towards helping humans. and supporting humans in whatever they do. But when I say whatever they do, we have to define that humans do good. And that's where it's not as straightforward, to be honest, but I do think we have to work with ethics. We see that more and more. Now people started with implementing AI and all of a sudden, oh, ethics, yeah. But it's pretty sure that we must start with ethics and not start with, we can't implement AI if we don't have ethics on top of everything we do.
And what was one of the most shocking changes that you have been seeing happening in the tech space? Something that is really worrying you, that is not aligned with human-centered AI?
Everything I have seen has two sides. And I'm, as you know, from my also what I do is I'm on the very positive side, but nevertheless, I also see some shocking. So when OpenAI opens the floodgates, I would almost say, it's sometimes shocking what you see and what people use it for. But same with Grok, yeah. All the negative and things which happen when they had certain releases. OpenAI is much more cautious now, like we have seen with Sora 2. They have it to a limited number of people, but even there, what is very, very difficult for us, how do we avoid deep fakes? So how do we avoid, you talk to me now, Michael, and you don't talk to my clone, or you talk to someone else because we have just done a switch of faces, which would be easy, and you can clone my voice. It's not a problem. I can do that in seconds. And how do we make sure that it's real? So this question of trust is the biggest challenge we have right now. Whom and what can we trust? And this is also something for me where I say this is about purpose. This is about human-centric. We need to make sure we can trust. About what can we trust? I can trust this conversation, but how I can trust when I don't be with you? And even in the future, if I'm with you and we have this wonderful humanoid robots, which we have seen in Terminator, I might not know who you are. And we have seen it all in science fiction. All of a sudden it becomes reality. So what is reality? And this is changing.
Yeah, in fact, this is a good point to our next topic, is the digital identity into the current AI environment, where anyone can clone the voice, they can clone your identity. In fact, you have been sharing a story about Stella Hennen, an actress who discovered that someone basically stole her identity, and they created a video with her identity, and the video went viral. So what do
It's a
you think
Hollywood
are
video even. It's a Hollywood video. So
Hollywood?
this, this shocked everyone because the face and who she are, how she looks like, and her whole appearance, you can say her whole personality got copied. Obviously, they say it's not exactly the same, but everyone who has seen her on TikTok, on Insta, she's a big influencer, she's a musician, clearly could recognize her. And we had the same previously with Scarlett Johansson when ChatGPT had all of a sudden the voice of Scarlett Johansson. How do we protect this? And we need to protect, as you highlight, our digital identity. And I had the opportunity to talk to someone who is deep into this topic. So, where you think, with my biometrics, with my face, I can't do it. With my eyes, I can't do it. With my hands, I can't do it. But the most amazing thing is that you have a unique heart frequency. That means that your heart frequency your unique single point of how you can identify someone. And she has a company called Tenbeo, where she is actually developing tools exactly for that purpose. And there is also an interesting story behind it, because she works together with another big artist, visualist, called Krista Kim. I interviewed for my podcast, The Edge of Tomorrow, and I've been collaborating with for a couple of years. She did an art installation in Riyadh first. Now she has done one in London. Now I think they went to Barcelona or Valencia. And what they do there, they have 4 or 5 people with their heart frequency, and that heart frequency comes together. So people come together and they create waves, they create art. So you can see the emotional status of people as well converted into art. And there you can see how art, technology, society, how this weaves together and how we can learn from those experiences. So that is the one unique identifier. And another way of protecting, or at least for now, your digital identity, I'm working with a community called Choice Community, and we have Choice DAO, so decentralized autonomous organization, and we have a digital identity on blockchain, a digital ID. So also with your identity on blockchain, at least for now, you have the possibility to protect your digital identity. And that will become even more important, where when you have any picture, image taken of you, I can create a view. I can use it for anything.
And do you think AI companies that are releasing this model, they should be responsible legally and morally for creating, allowing user to replicate, identity of someone else? I mean, I think it's really difficult to track down as well the output of the models.
Yeah, they are trying to limit the damage, put it this way, what I've seen. So I'm using Zora 2, where you can use your what is called Cameo. You create a digital twin from just moving the camera around you. Then I have said, put me in a TED talk about humanity and technology. 2 minutes later, I have a TED talk, 10 seconds of myself. Obviously, I could do anything else with it. And they're trying to limit it, that I have control over my digital twin. And I can, on the Sora platform, say, I want my Cameo to be used by others or not. Yeah. And it's only to be used by others on that platform, and I can stop the usage anytime. But this is just on this platform. When obviously I release the tools beyond the platform, because right now the platform is a little bit like TikTok, but it's more than that, because it's the biggest playground, the biggest data gathering for OpenAI, for the next level of embodied AI. They have also stated that. Not a lot of people have seen that. They missed this point. It's not that you create these videos, it's what you create, and then later they ask you, when you scroll through the other videos, how's your mood, how does it sound to you, and so on. So it's a huge behavioral study for free. So are they responsible? Yes, in a certain way, but it's a bit like, once a genie is out of the box, you can't stop it. And it's the same like the internet. Yes, there's certain responsibility for those who provide the internet, but more so for those who use the internet. So the most important we have to do is to educate people. And for parents, this is a huge challenge, as we know, because the kids are on social media all the time. So how do we educate them? And there was, I don't know, I've seen that in New Zealand, a huge, super great campaign with a big video where, there were all of a sudden naked people, a 30 and 40-year-old couple at the door of parents. And their little son came out in the back and didn't know he was talking to those people who were in front of the door of the parents. So this was a video campaign, and they made it quite funny, but also, oh my God, this is happening. This is happening now. So this kind of education does help us to understand and help people to also be very, very mindful when they put pictures of their children everywhere. I wouldn't do that. Yeah, I wouldn't do pictures on Insta, on Facebook, even on WhatsApp is a challenge. But I do the same with my family. We have a lot of images from family get-togethers, but even that is questionable if you look at what people can make with it.
Yeah, I think there are always they are creating so much opportunity, but of course they are also creating unintended consequences that we have to analyze and understand. One of the major issues that I see is that sometimes as society or organization, we can easily track what's the main driver of some consequence. So we are, we are not able to address that issue. I mean, I'm talking about the internet, has been making huge changes in our society, but as creator as well, uh, unwanted, unintended consequence into society that we should address, like fertility. Uh, Fertility rate are dropping. Um, there are many issues that I think they could be associated with maybe more spending time online. So how can we, it's a big question. How can we?
But we should not forget also that we are all role models. So if I'm with the youngest one in my family are 10 and 7, I don't have the mobile when we eat together. I don't have the mobile just, I mean, we do the pictures and photos and they love it in different postures, but I don't use it and I'm constantly on the phone. I really make time with them. And when we eat together in my family, it's a golden rule. And that is sometimes very hard with the teenagers, in particular the boys. 16, 70 years old, they are getting bored. Yeah, we have been eating now let's do social media. And we have to reinforce and say, no, either you're with us or you are with social media. So no, not working. Yeah. But it's hard to take away the phone from a 17 years old is difficult, to say the least. And the rational is for them not always clear.
One issue that I've seen is that we are in a capitalist society where we have huge investment into software, and software are creating huge advantages, but also are capturing a lot of our attention. And we are in a circle that attention create, or that time spent online, it create new problem, new opportunity for software, new investment, and we keep increasing our time spent online. And we are trapped into this virtual world. My question is, we love the digital world. We can do many things, but as a society, is this the direction that we want to go, more and more digitally? Or, I mean, we want to spend more time as well in the real world?
Yeah, you know how much I love the virtual world. That's why I created my metaverse where I can connect with people globally and I do events and I just love it. And when people from all over the world are people because they're the avatars, and as we know, the avatars are this extension of yourself. Once you have been an avatar, you know how that feels. It feels like you. But having said that, I think the most important, and that also is proven through brain research, that if you spend 10 hours a day only digitally, your brain is not working in the way it should be working. Certain brain areas will not function very well. So for me, this is very easy because I live in a place where I have all green around me. So I go upstairs and there I have the forest, the mountains, I have everything. And on top of that, I have a dog. So dogs need to go out and they remind you. So people who have children, they should also be reminded to go out. But it's very, very important that we have conscious decision to go out, be with people, and in particular, also get the healing from nature. And more people also in my circle have discovered, because we have spent so much time, and in particular in my field, we spend so much time in the different metaverses. We jump from one to the other, and there's yet another one, and let's go, and so many things happening. So you get a bit of addicted as well, like you do with social media. We know that this is dopamine creation. So you need to be very careful with this kind of addiction, which, I mean, alcohol, everyone admits, smoking, everyone admits. But digital addiction, dopamine through social media, is one of the highest addictions right now in our generation, not only, but in younger generation. But it's not only the kids, because we want to do it, and get addicted to getting the immediate feedback. That's the other one. Everyone is expecting you get feedback now, and ideally the feedback is always positive. That's why in the last Stanford, it's shocking. In the last Stanford research, it has shown that 90% of people use ChatGPT now for therapy and personal growth. So what does it mean, therapy? You don't have human connections anymore. But having said that, there are not enough therapists to cure our mental health problems. But where are the mental health problems coming from? So you see a very, very clear cycle of where it's coming from and what it means. So I love technology. I love virtual worlds. I love digital. Having said that, I love nature. I love my family. I love my friends. I love humans. And the first and foremost for every human is we can live without food, we can live without water, but we cannot live without other people.
Yeah, so maybe one way would be also to focusing on technology that incentive spending outdoor time instead of, in front of a screen or a digital world, or maybe there is a interaction between them.
Yeah, we see that with augmented reality, that the next device will certainly not be like this. The next device will be quite different. It could be, as we have seen with a human AI pin, which wasn't successful, unfortunate, just a pin, or the glasses, or a chip, or another wearable, but definitely not in front of our face.
Marta, thank you very much. We are getting closer to the end of our episode. I want to have a couple of more quick questions on different topic. One of the biggest misconception about AI today
is that AI will replace everyone.
So do you think it is not true?
It's not true.
One of the emerging techs that really excite you?
Quantum computing.
And one of the worries the most?
Trust. So the discussion we had, how can we trust what we see? Or what we
And
don't see. Depends.
and finally, if you could deliver one message to everyone working in technology on the tech and the future of AI, what would be?
I think the most important is that you experience it yourself. So test it and try it out, and also be prepared to fail, because as we all know, only from those failures we can really grow and also develop. So don't be afraid is the biggest message, and just test it for yourself and see how you can make it valuable to you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Marta. Thank you very much. We will have speak, I think, for much longer, but we have a limited time. It was really interesting and exciting conversation. Thank you very much, and we maybe can get back on a discussion in 6 months, a year, see how things are changed. I'm trying to keep track of each of the interviews so I can compare when I will have again a guest, so we can make a comparison with the fast pace of technology. So thank you very much again, Marta.
Yeah, thank you, Michael, for having me. It was a really fantastic conversation. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Hi there. Welcome to my channel. I'm Michael Coppola. I'm excited to have you here. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Together, let's explore the incredible potential of entrepreneurship, business innovation, and technology to take your ventures to the next level.